At this point, ban birth control. Cause she got beef.
Come on me, I'm handsome, bitch. Then I'm an angelic. Low-key looking like a lick. Yeah, hating on me, damn the crime against humanity.
Like, I'm genuinely convinced that me and birth control are mortal enemies. That's just how I feel. What's good, what's great, what's tea? Welcome back to the channel. Niecy gang, how y'all doing? This video is kind of like a rant, but it's also a story time because of the mess that happened to me on Monday. Y'all listening? Let's get to it. Okay, so for the people who know and who have followed me, y'all very well know we have kids. Obviously, I have a 7 turning 8-year-old and my youngest just turned 5. So I have always had like different experiences with birth control. I think I've been on 3 different types of birth control. Now, the reason I got on birth control was not because I was trying to get it in these streets. It was because I was having so much pain. I would have cycles for months on end, and the type of pain that I was in, although I have a high pain tolerance, was causing me consistent problems. Like, I was cramping every single day. So I go to the doctor, and the doctor is basically like, we could either put you on birth control to try to regulate it, or you can just get a partial hysterectomy. Mind you, I'm 17, no kids, just straight out of high school. I said, why would you recommend that? But that's how bad the pain and all that stuff was. So I said, you know what? No, I'm gonna get on the birth control. Why did I say that? The first birth control that I ever got on was Depo, which is Depo-Provera, the shot. Y'all know you can either get it in your arm or your butt, okay? Why I decided to get it in my cheek, the world may never know. That's why I had to get it. But the reason I got on Depo is because I know me as a person. I knew the schedule I was on, all the stuff I was doing, track, dance, blah, blah, blah. I was not going to be able to keep track with them pills. And I had already heard really bad stories about the pills of where it was like, yeah, if you get on the pill, you have to take it at the exact same time or it's going to create issues. You're going to have to start over. I didn't feel like doing that. So I was like, fine, I'll do Depo. Get on the Depo. Y'all, the shot they gave me in my butt left a dent. Now, in recent conversations, I've discovered it normally leaves a knot. What? But it ended up leaving a dent. And of course with Depo, you do have to increase your calcium intake. So baby, when I say I was drinking so much milk, I was drinking milk, I was taking vitamins, trying to make sure that I kept it up because it could lead to bone thinning. And as someone who was not only doing like step and track and all of that at the time, I was going to school for dance. I could not deal with potentially having my bones or any issues with my body. So first one I got was on Depo, but you know, of course, they have a time limit. Every birth control has a time limit. On the Depo, my period did not come again. I just randomly stopped bleeding, but I was still having consistent cramps and issues. And so by the time I got off of that one, baby, I was just like, look, I'm over it, okay? And then it goes on to the next one. So at this time, I'm in college and I'm like, look, I gotta get back on some type of birth control. So again, especially being a dance major, my biggest concern with getting the Nexplanon, he was like, look, my doctor told me, said, that thing gonna break in your arm, especially with the consistent movement. If people are grabbing on you and lifting you, all that hoorah, that's probably not your safest bet. So I said, fine, I need something else. Here comes the NuvaRing. Y'all, out of all the birth control I've had, that one is the one I've hated the most. Absolutely. Because first of all, it's this little circle thing. Look like it, okay? Little circle. And the issue is you have to squeeze it to put it in and then take it out. So you're supposed to put it in and then take it out for a week because you're supposed to try to regulate your cycle. And again, the whole thing was trying to regulate my cycle. No. Because for one, the way you put it in, if you put it in wrong, it will slip out. So I constantly kept having to deal with that. And as somebody who was dancing and moving around in class, feeling that thing moving around just wasn't it for me. It also just was not practical trying to go in there, looping, digging it out to try to put it back in. I was just like, you know what, baby? Y'all can have that, okay? And then on top of that, I have a NuvaRing, baby. We're not even gonna get into that, but whatever. So yeah, the NuvaRing was the next one. Same thing with Depo. It was trying to regulate my cycle when you take it out for the week. However, my cycle refused to regulate. And that was nasty because I'm in there trying to push it and I'm already technically on my cycle. And I was bleeding non-stop. When I say non-stop, I was so frustrated because I'm like, y'all are supposed to be helping me get my hormones in check and balance. And at this time, you know, I'm doing everything on my end. I'm eating good. I'm making sure I stay hydrated because I'm dancing. But nothing was working for me. Now, between the NuvaRing and the next birth control, baby, I got married and got pregnant. Okay. We did try contraceptives. We tried Plan Bs. We were attempting, which, do Plan B count? I'm gonna put it in here anyway. Tried to do the Plan B, y'all. Plan B did not take. Yanni is a Plan B COVID baby. That should let you know enough about Yanni. So right after Yanni, when I say right after Yanni, I said, no, I have to get on another birth control. Although I don't want to, my cycle is still not regulated. So I needed something else. I was like, look, I cannot do this. We gotta get on something. Like, so I go back to the doctor again with the pills. I could not do the pills. I knew my schedule. I was not gonna be able to deal with it. And I was already, had been on the depot, had been on the NuvaRing, had did the Plan Bs. So then my doctor said, well, why don't we do the IUD? Now, so that's how I ended up with the IUD that I have. Now, there are two. One of them is a hormonal IUD. The other one is made of pure copper. The hormonal one lasts for 5 years. The copper one lasts for 10. I didn't feel comfortable putting copper in there. And she was like, yeah, it's just a copper one. And it just kind of like lets off the copper inside of you, blah, blah, blah. I didn't want to be smelling and tasting like pennies. So at least that's where I was in my mind. So I said, no, just give me the hormonal one. Hopefully this will try to regulate it. And so basically what happens with the IUD, I get it. Everything seems fine, but then it starts to happen again to where I am not having a cycle. And I get everybody's like, oh, you know, that's fine. I would go months at a time without bleeding, but having consistent cramps all the time. And I have given birth twice, y'all. Twice. 2 times. And I have experienced labor pains. My cramps have gotten to the point that they were at my labor-like cramping. Like, it is so bad. There are some days where I can't even get up for real. I have to consistently be on like a heating pad or taking pain meds. Even when my cycle was so bad, my doctor prescribed me 800 milligram ibuprofen, 2 a day, 1600 milligrams of ibuprofen for my cycle. Like, that lets you know what the issue is. So I get the IUD. I'm not bleeding for months at a time. I literally went almost a year without bleeding, but I was consistently cramping. So from there, I still keep it in. I still keep dealing with it. I'm dealing with the pain. I go to the doctor. They said, okay, the IUD may have created a cyst because the hormonal IUD can create ovarian cysts. They were like, as long as it doesn't get too big, you should be fine. I'm like, so we just not gonna talk about the fact that there's a cyst on my ovaries? And she was like, well, we got to leave it in there because if it gets bigger and we take it out, that means you lose your ovary. Thanks. So I'm pretty sure to this day I still have a cyst on my left ovary. Yeah, that's fine. So for 5 years, I am dealing with this pain, this mess, this stress, this drama. And then my daughter finally hits 5 years old. So I'm like, okay, we're in year 5. This is where the problem comes in. And this is the reason that I started this video, okay? I go to the doctor to try to get my birth control removed. I go to the doctor, set the appointment through the app. I get there, they were like, there was an issue with your appointment. I said, what's the issue? We can't find your insurance. I said, what do you mean? It's in the app. They said, well, we can't set you an appointment without an insurance. I said, okay, well, can I just do a self-pay today to go ahead and get it out the way? She was like, well, no, we can't set up self-pay here. Call the financial office. I called the financial office. Financial office says, yeah, we can help, but you have to do the appointment first because we can help with the bill, but we can't do anything if you don't go to the appointment. I said, she won't let me set up the self-pay. So I'm back and forth with these people for over an hour on the phone and at least 30 minutes in the actual office, trying to get them to understand, y'all are telling me 2 completely different things. She can't set up the thing because she said, I need to talk to finances. Finance is telling me you have to set it up so that we can help you. And so after all this, we can't do this. We gotta do this. We can't do that because you gotta do that. Well, that's not what we telling. They going back and forth. Meanwhile, I'm sitting in the middle still cramping and in pain. I'm like, help me. Help me. So eventually they decide, okay, Let's get her over. They finally find the insurance, all that. So I get on the phone with another representative and she's like, oh, okay, great. We can get it set up. She said, oh, wait, because it's been so long, because you know when you go and you get pap smears and stuff, and then I did move, so I've been going to another doctor. She said, because it's been so long, we'll have to set you up as a new patient. I said, okay, that's fine. Take my information. She says,
we're not currently accepting new patients.
Huh?
So you told me you have to set me up as a new patient just to tell me y'all are not currently accepting new patients.
Be nice. I'm finding it.
Yeah. So basically, I'm agitated because I'm like, dude, I've been here for hours now. Like, it was 11, I think. No, it was like 9 when I went in. By the time I finished this conversation with her, it's around 12 o'clock. So the only other option that they have for me is to go to the ER, which is right across the street. She said, we can call over, tell them the issue, go over there. They'll have someone there to help you. It's a really simple process. They pull it out. I go to the ER, I'm in there forever, of course. Then I finally get into a room. Come to find out, they hadn't even put my order in. I stopped the nurse, I was like, hey, do you know how much longer this is gonna be? I've been sitting here for about 2 hours. She was like, oh, I don't even see your name on the order list. Let me go do that.
Huh?
So they get that set up. They get me into a room. The doctors come in, everything's working fairly quick. He says, okay. The doctor, the nurse is down there. There's 3 other nurses in the room and they're like, yep, we're just gonna go in and pull it out. He goes in, he goes all the way up to my cervix. He was like, okay, I'm reaching my comfort point. And I'm sitting here like, what the heck are we talking about? Come to find out. He could not find my IUD. He was like, yeah, I went all the way through your cervix. I cannot find your IUD anywhere. So I'm frustrated because I'm like, what do you mean you cannot find it? Where is it? Because I haven't did anything with it. Where is it? Where is it? Because he cannot find it, they have to set me up for an ultrasound. So the ultrasound tech comes in and she's like, okay, we take you, we're good, whatever. They get the ultrasound done. The nurse comes back in after they put me in the room and he's just like, look, we have to wait on the OBGYN to get in here. The problem is she's in a C-section right now. So I said, you know what, just bring me a warm blanket. I went to sleep. I get up, the OBGYN finally comes in the room. She said, okay, looking at the ultrasound, it's in the right place. However, it has moved up. So this is where it's my services, this is where the IUD is supposed to be. IUD is up here. So she's like, unfortunately, we don't have the tools to get it out. I said, I'm sorry. So basically, she says that it's in the right place. However, it's moved up. So basically, she is like, okay, I can try. I'll take these 2 little pincers and whatever, and we'll try to get in there. I'll get some tools. We'll see what we can do. And at first, I was going to be like, you know what? I'm ready to go home. But she said she could try. She's the OBGYN. I'm going to let her try. Y'all, I shouldn't have let her try. So she goes in, she puts the duck bill in, she takes the pincers, and she's like, I feel her DJing in there, mixing it up. I'm like, oh, okay. She tries 3 times and cannot get it out. And she was basically like, I had to hold your cervix with the other pincers. I had to open your cervix up, hold your cervix out the way to try to get the other ones and go in there. She was like, I feel the strings, I just can't grab them. So because I'm the head OBGYN at this office, I'm gonna call over to the people who sent you over here to set you up an appointment. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, I'll deal with it. She was like, you'll deal with some light spotting since I went in there and was beatboxing, chefing it up, whipping it around. She said light spotting, y'all, I bled heavy for 3 days straight. And when I say heavy, I mean, when she was cleaning up the tools, there was blood everywhere. Yeah, it looked like a slaughterhouse. And then on top of that, she was like, yeah, you probably don't want to have intercourse for the next 3 or 4 days because you can cause some issues to yourself. I said, well, obviously, because you've been in there chefing it up and whipping things around that aren't supposed to be moved. So I get a message the next day for my appointments. Why is the appointment not until a month out? It's literally a month and extended from there. I said, baby, you know what? I'm gonna have to find somewhere else to go. Only problem is with like the Planned Parenthood clinics and all that, both clinics are like 2.5 hours away from me in different directions. So at this point, I just realized once this thing comes out, birth control is not for me because the amount of mess and stress and drama, I can't deal with it. And I'm not gonna deal with it. Baby, give me the baby, okay? And when I say yo ho ho, it's a pirate's life for me, baby, I genuinely mean it. Like, I have not had a good experience with birth control. I don't know anybody who has had a good experience with birth control. If you have, congratulations to you. But yeah, that was my tale of woe when it comes to birth control. And even to this day, I am still dealing with consistent daily cramps all day long. And it's frustrating to me, but at the end of the day, it's not meant for my body anyway. It's not meant for anybody's body. So will I be doing any more birth control updates? Probably not. Okay, so if y'all see another pregnancy announcement, this is your warning.